To redeem. True prophecy flows not from man's will, but from the Holy Spirit. 2 Peter 1:21. God reveals to redeem.
On Sunday, the 29th of June, 2025, during the Sunday live service at the City of Jesus International Ministry, the man of God, Christopher Orji, delivered a solemn prophetic message concerning the nation of Iran. In the course of the service, he called on believers to lift up earnest prayers for the people of Iran, declaring that God's mercy remains available to every nation that humbles itself and seeks peace. He further issued a prophetic caution, urging the nation of Iran to refrain from any form of military aggression against Israel or the United States. According to the message delivered, any path of violence or escalation would bring severe consequences, described symbolically as the sword of vengeance. The emphasis of the prophetic instruction was clear. Choose peace over conflict. Choose restraint over retaliation. Choose prayer over provocation. Listen to his words.
Pray for the nation Iran, for God to enter their leaders to make the right decision, which is not to attack Israel. Pray for them, the nation Iran, the leaders and citizens of Iran, to be guided by the Spirit of God, not to attack America or anything that has to do with these nations. This message is very clear. What is the message? Pray for the nation Iran not to attack Israel or America, because if they do, this will bring total doom or destruction to the nation Iran. To the carnally minded, this prophetic message is very hard to obey. But the way of obedience is the way of life. Peace, reconciliation, unity, progress, and salvation. Make this prophetic message viral. Let it go round to everybody. This is life. I'm being prophesied to life, so that nobody will say he or she did not hear.
In confirmation, in a major development, on the 28th of February, 2026, global news broke reporting the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, which occurred during a joint military strike involving the United States and Israel. The report further reflected on how, under his government in Iran, many lives had been lost over the years, including terrorism, casualties during nationwide protest crackdowns, deaths linked to regional proxy conflicts, Iranian civilians affected by internal political unrest, tensions and military escalations in the Middle East. Listen to the news.
Yes, Sandra, we just got this in literally 2 minutes ago, but Fox News can confirm that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead following Israeli strikes against his compound and location earlier today. A senior Israeli official confirming this news. Earlier tonight, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu describing the strikes not only against the supreme leader, but against much of the Iranian leadership. We know the breakdown in strikes focused on leadership for the Israelis and military targets initially for the Americans, and has since expanded as this campaign is expected to continue in the days and possibly even weeks ahead. As we're looking at the current situation across the region, we're also gathering new information on what the Israelis have been doing against Iran. We are told from a military official that the largest Israeli Air Force sortie against any country in the world was conducted this morning with 200 Israeli fighter jets targeting 500 different locations, dropping hundreds of munitions on a variety of different targets inside of Iran. The Israelis, while they were going after leadership, were also looking to neutralize the incoming ballistic missile fire that has targeted their country throughout the day. Sirens sounded across Israel throughout the afternoon, sending millions of people into bomb shelters. But again, the takeaway here, the Israelis have killed Iran's supreme leader. That is being confirmed to Fox News by a senior Israeli official. John, Sandra?
Okay, so Trey, you're obviously breaking that news for us just now. We'll be looking for reaction, obviously, on the ground in Iran and all over the Middle East region.
Absolutely. This is a major blow to the Iranian regime. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, was not a figurehead. He was the man in charge of decisions as it relates to Iran's nuclear program, their expanding ballistic missile program, the hardline positions that made it impossible for the Americans to reach a diplomatic solution with the Iranians. And that led to a variety of conversations behind the scenes. And I can also report, having just gotten off of a background call with a U.S. official, that there were attempts made by the Trump administration, really olive branches given to the Iranians at the negotiating table, asking them to find a solution on the nuclear issue. These other issues, their ballistic missile program, their support of regional proxies, and even the crackdown on protesters, the Trump administration initially was willing to ignore those issues in order to get an agreement together on the nuclear program, and they simply were not willing to come to the table with reasonable demands. And despite the efforts by top negotiators that were sent to Oman and to Switzerland, whether it be Special Envoy Steve Witkoff or President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, who we know have been working across the region around the clock over the past year, not just on this issue, but also to get a ceasefire in Gaza and implement the new Board of Peace to create stability in the region. The understanding was that the Iranian regime and the supreme leader himself, these were the last hurdles for the region between stability and instability. And this decision was made overnight by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to launch these extensive strikes across Iran in order to neutralize that threat. President Trump overnight, when he made those remarks, said there could be American casualties. This is going to be a difficult fight because no war is easy, despite the fact that by tomorrow the Israelis believe they will have air superiority over the skies of Iran. But we have seen the Iranian response today, not just here in Israel, with the ballistic missile fire targeting major population centers, including Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa, but also Gulf countries, Bahrain, the UAE, and Qatar. A regional diplomat telling Fox News this evening that 8 people were injured in Qatar during one of the attacks. One of them is in critical condition. And so there are serious consequences to this counterattack by Iran. But again, tonight, the news that is breaking across the region, Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, according to a senior Israeli official, has been killed.
So, Trey, if that report from the senior Israeli official is correct, the big question is what comes next. The Ayatollah was 86 years old. I imagine that in the theocracy of Iran, they have got clerics lined up to take that position in the same way that they have planes lined up over Ben Gurion on the landing approach. So what does that mean for the future there in terms of the theocracy if that were to continue?
Israel is looking east right now to the threat from Iran, but they're also looking north and south. Iran's largest proxies are Hezbollah, the Lebanese militant group in southern Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. Hezbollah, according to an intelligence official I spoke to recently, still has thousands of rockets and missiles, and around half of them are within range of Israeli cities. And this is a serious threat still posed to Israel, despite the fact that the Israelis have degraded and destroyed much of the Hezbollah arsenal. It still poses a threat to Israel. You might remember, as we reported throughout the past 2.5 years, the Israelis decapitated the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, with a strike in the Dakhya neighborhood of southern Beirut. They went after the missile launching positions we saw on the ground there in southern Lebanon as the Israelis meticulously moved field by field and cave by cave to go after these positions that had been dug into the sides of mountains. But despite those efforts, this is an organization that had decades of support from the Iranian regime, and they were able to smuggle in missiles and rocket components that now make up what is left of that arsenal. And while it is a smaller arsenal than before, it is a threat. And Hezbollah in the past, just the past several days, has said that if Iran's supreme leader was targeted, they would get directly involved in this war. And so that is where Israel is focused right now. As it relates to the situation on the ground in Iran, we do have to step back amid all of this military action and these serious decisions that were made by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. There is still an understanding about how the structure of the Iranian regime operates. Iran's supreme leader reportedly had already prepared successors. Iran's IRGC had already prepared successors for the top commanders of their military, understanding that if a war erupted, these would be the individuals targeted in such a conflict. And so this isn't over. This is actually just beginning. But it does raise questions about the future of the region and where things are headed once this does conclude.
Also crossing right now, a source familiar to Fox News is saying some Gulf partners are responding to Iran defensively and offensively. Trey, since the last time you joined us, top of the last hour, we got word that President Trump had sat down for this several-minute interview with Axios, in which he said he believes he has several off-ramps from Operation Epic Fury, talking about how long this could take. It could end in 2 or 3 days, said the president. He could tell the Iranians, see you again in a few years if you start rebuilding your nuclear and missile programs. This was about a 5-minute interview that the president conducted, but suggesting there could still be a diplomatic solution or opportunity, Trey.
Absolutely. This is the Peace Through Strength initiative that the president ran on when he was running for his second term. And when you look at the region, there are players in the region, including the Iranians, that often only understand strength. And that is a fact in the Middle East. And it's the reason that the Israelis have approached the conflicts that they are involved in the way that they have. As it relates to Iran and the possibility of a diplomatic off-ramp, if this does continue for a number of days and the regime is weakened, we have already heard in interviews that took place today from other outlets with Iran's foreign minister, who indicated at least a small interest in a diplomatic path, understanding that at the end of this, the Iranian regime had one major factor, one lever to pull, and that was their ballistic missile program. Now, while they still will fire ballistic missiles, likely in the days ahead, when they have no nuclear weapon, they have a limited supply of missile launchers, and their regional proxies have been decimated over the past 2.5 years, it raises a very significant question. What does Iran have left to fight with if this is an extended campaign that lasts for several days or several weeks? They certainly do pose a threat. They have anti-ship missiles. They have ballistic missiles. But their ability that they had, and really we should look at October of 2023, the ability that they had before the war began with Hamas launching the brutal massacre into southern Israel on the morning of October 7th. When you think back 2.5 years ago, this is a totally different Iranian regime. It is a weakened regime. It is a regime that cracked down on protesters, slaughtering, according to President Trump, 32,000 of their own civilians. That's behavior from a regime that is cornered, understanding that they have very limited options of how to respond. And so the days ahead will be quite interesting to see how the Israelis and the Americans move forward with strikes against Iran. But certainly in these situations, we have often seen temporary ceasefires when conflict erupts in order to get some sort of deal together. And just one concluding point here that I want to note. Back during the 12-day war in June of 2025, as we reported here on the ground amid heavy incoming ballistic missile fire, that war was unfolding with casualties here in Israel, more than 24 people killed. The Israelis launching a series of strikes across Iran, trying to take out those air defense systems. But it was when President Trump ordered Operation Midnight Hammer that the Iranians suddenly responded just once against a base in Qatar, the Al Udeid base, and then, in a way, backed off. And it was President Trump, one man, who was able to decide the outcome of what comes next. And I remember a moment here on the ground. Israeli fighter jets were in the skies on their way to continue with a bombing campaign against Iran, and President Trump got on the phone and called off the strikes. So when the president feels that there's an opportunity for a deal, there are options and off-ramps to be taken.
All right. Trey, confirming right here per senior Israeli officials that the supreme leader is gone.
President Trump has just put this out on his Truth Social page, confirming that Iran's supreme leader is now dead. I'm going to take you out to that post. This is what he put on his own Truth Social a few moments ago. I'm going to read it out for you in full as well, saying this: Khamenei, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. This is not only justice for the people of Iran, but for all great Americans and those people from many countries throughout the world that have been killed or mutilated by Khamenei and his gang of bloodthirsty thugs. He was unable to avoid our intelligence and highly sophisticated tracking systems and working closely with Israel. There was not a thing he or the other leaders that had been killed along with him could do. This is the single greatest chance for the Iranian people to take back their country. We are hearing that many of their IRGC, military, and other security and police forces no longer want to fight and are looking for immunity from us. As I said last night, quote, now they have immunity, later they only get death, end quote. Hopefully the IRGC and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots and work together as a unit to bring back the country to the greatness it deserves. That process should be starting soon, and that not only the death of Khamenei, but the country has been in only one day very much destroyed and even obliterated. The heavy and pinpoint bombing, however, will continue uninterrupted throughout the week or as long as necessary to achieve our objective of peace throughout the Middle East and indeed the world. There you have it from President Trump, confirming there that Khamenei, the supreme leader there, who has been in power for so many years, is now dead. President Trump putting this out just a few moments ago on his Truth Social site. And so I do want to point out one other portion of this that is going to continue to watch how we are going to cover this process over the next few days. He said this: the heavy and pinpoint bombing, however, will continue uninterrupted throughout the week or as long as necessary to achieve their objective of peace throughout the Middle East. That means we'll continue to have you updated here on Live Now from Fox as those updates come in from us, whether or not we see more of these bombs coming off there in the Middle East. I want to show you this as well, a live look that we have in Tel Aviv at this hour. Over the last few hours, we've also been watching the skies there as we've seen the Iron Dome intercepting some of those missiles, but we wanted to make sure we're able to bring that to you here on Live Now. President Trump now breaking into this to confirm that the supreme leader in Iran is now dead. And so before we head back into the UN Security Council, I want to take this opportunity to show you some of the reaction that is now happening as this is being announced. This is in Los Angeles, California, reactions from community members to these strikes, now knowing here that Khamenei has now been pronounced dead by President Trump.
The prophetic word by the man of God, Christopher Orji, was fulfilled. This event confirmed his warning that those who promote violence, destruction, and bloodshed without repentance would not continue indefinitely. The scripture tells us in Ezekiel 33:11, "As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that they turn from their ways and live." Take note of what he said here.
Pray for the nation Iran, for God to enter their leaders to make the right decision, which is not to attack Israel. Pray for them, the nation Iran, the leaders and citizens of Iran, to be guided by the Spirit of God, not to attack America or anything that has to do with these nations. This message is very clear. What is the message? Pray for the nation Iran not to attack Israel or America, because if they do, this will bring total doom or destruction. to the nation Iran. To the carnally minded, this prophetic message is very hard to obey. But the way of obedience is the way of life, peace, reconciliation, unity, progress, and salvation. Make this prophetic message viral. Let it go round to everybody. This is life. I'm being prophesied to life, so that nobody will say he or she did not hear.
The message is not celebration of death. It is a warning. Violence has consequences. Bloodshed invites judgment. Power without righteousness collapses. Shalom.
Viewers all over the world, the City of Jesus International Ministry is delighted to provide guidance on the process of partnership with the ministry. Follow these steps to get started. Step 1. Launch your preferred browser, such as Google Chrome and the like. Step 2. Enter the website address of the City of Jesus International Ministry at www.cojim.org. Step 3. Navigate to the partnership page. Step 4. Thoroughly review the instructions provided on the partnership page. Step 5. Scroll down and click on Make Donation. Step 6. You'll be redirected to the donation page of the City of Jesus International Ministry. Step 7. Various donation platforms, including Global Pay, bank donations, and PayStack, will be displayed. Step 8. Choose your preferred donation platform. For this demonstration, we'll select Global Pay. Step 9. Complete your details, then click Donate Now. This action will lead you to the final stage, where you'll input your card details and click Pay USD. Step 10. Capture a screenshot of your donation as proof for registration purposes. Step 11. Upon returning to the City of Jesus International Ministries webpage, close the donation gateway. Step 12. Provide accurate details Upload the proof of donation by selecting the Save Screenshot. Ensure the file size is in kilobytes, not megabytes. Step 13. Scroll up and select a passport photograph. Choose any picture from your device, ensuring the file size is in kilobytes. Step 14. Indicate your marital status by selecting either married or single. Step 15. Double-check all entered information before submitting. Step 16. Upon submission, wait for 24 to 48 hours for approval from the City of Jesus International Ministry. Then proceed to the partner login page, where you can log in using your email address and password. God bless you and your family forever in Jesus Christ's name. Shalom.
God reveals to redeem. True prophecy flows not from man's will, but from the Holy Spirit. 2 Peter 1:21. God reveals to redeem.
During the Sunday live service at the City of Jesus International Ministry on the 10th of August 2025, the man of God, Christopher Orji, filled with the Spirit of grace and truth, delivered a prophetic message to the nation of Nigeria. He urged the nation to pay close attention to the security of its borders to preserve the lives of its citizens. He also called on the government to diligently monitor activities within the states to ensure peace and safety. Let's watch with a prayerful heart. Shalom.
Eternal security of the nation Nigeria should be a priority. Each governor of every state of Nigeria should play a very good role in securing lives of people within their states. Check your borders. Monitor the people that are coming in and going out. What are they coming in to do? What are they going out with? What are they coming in with? If you are talking about security, you must know that your neighbor is truly secured because of you. Meaning, your neighbor is truly secured because of your harmless life.
In confirmation to the prophetic warning, on Palm Sunday, March 29, 2026, in Jos Plateau State, what began as a sacred evening quickly turned into a moment of terror. According to eyewitness accounts, at about 8 p.m., as residents were returning from church services and others gathered peacefully in their communities, armed men suddenly stormed parts of Jos North, including Ongwan Rukuba. Without warning, the attackers opened fire. Witnesses describe a scene of chaos. Gunshots rang out in multiple directions. People ran for safety, and many were struck while trying to escape. Some victims died instantly on the streets, while others were rushed to hospitals, where they later succumbed to their injuries. The attackers, said to have arrived on motorcycles, carried out the assault swiftly. They fired sporadically, creating confusion and panic, and then fled the area before security forces could intervene. In the aftermath, parts of the community were left in distress, with reports of destruction and fear spreading among residents. It was only later that security personnel arrived, by which time the gunmen had already disappeared. Casualty figures remain uncertain, while some eyewitnesses